Now, I feel like what gets missed, first of all, the fact I think this story gets missed. I don't want to presume what anybody does or does not know, but odds are most of us have forgot about this parable. And when I began to share it with you, I could see the look in eyes that people had forgotten about this parable. So I'll make an assumption, a broad assumption, that we don't have a whole lot of knowledge about the context. If we didn't know the parable, odds are we don't know what got us here. And that's probably something we need to find out. And what you'll learn as you dig a little bit into the context, and then we're going to pull back to that big 30,000 foot view, because there's a lot more than meets the eye. And what we'll find in one of the immediate context is that Jesus is dealing in a very time-bound moment, and he's locked himself within a framework of the clock ticking, which is a very ungodlike thing to do. God doesn't lock himself inside of a ticking clock. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. There's water on the face of the deep. The Spirit of God hovers, and boom, things start to happen. And the evening and the morning are the first day. And the evening and the morning are the second day. And the evening and the morning are the third day. And on the fourth day, God makes a sun. And the sun's the only way you and I get to figure out what a day looks like. But God's been calling it a day for 3 days without a sun. Because God out of the gate wants to show you that time is your construct, not His. Okay? For God, the evening and the morning could mean whatever. For you, the sun means 24 hours around it. We've got ourselves a day. There's no days until day 4. What's God trying to do? Confuse us? No, He's trying to say, I exist outside of all of it. Someday when I take on the form of a little baby and I'm born in Bethlehem, I'll exist on the inside of it. What I love about this, and this is a rabbit. I'm going to chase this little rabbit. He has nothing to do with our sermon, but I just like to get him. But he jumps across the path. I can't let him go. I love that my Jesus, who existed outside of space and time, also exists inside of space and time. But every now and then, just to show you what His daddy looks like, He reaches over into the other dimension and pulls things in that don't belong. Isn't that beautiful? For instance, it takes 4 years from the time you put a vine in the earth till you get to pop a cork on the first bottle of wine. Ask any vineyard, 4 years. You don't just put vines in the ground, get grapes, next year you got wine. It takes 4 crops, cycling through crops to get a bottle of wine. Jesus says, go get 6 water pots of stone, fill them with water, dip out, give it to the master of the feast. It's incredible that the God who exists outside of space and time steps inside of it, but then reaches through that veil, grabs hold of His Father's hand and says, let's turn this water into wine and speed it up 48 months. Isn't that impressive? And then in John 4, when He goes into Capernaum, or into Cana, the nobleman comes to Him, traveled 20 miles last night to get him to heal his son. He says, my son's at home, would you heal him? Jesus says, go home, your son's healed. Jesus reaches across space and heals a kid without going into his house. He who exists outside of space and time transverses time in John 2 and transverses space in John 4. And before long, He's going to transverse gravity as He steps outside of the boat and walks on water. Because it's the Father who's outside of it all, showing you what it would look like if God walked into your midst. I only share that with you because to me that's impressive. If you can be a little bit impressed about Jesus, that's a win.